recording. All right. Welcome to Favor and Beauty, the podcast where we acknowledge beauty that turns heads, but we really want to explore and dive deep into beauty that turns the heart. And I am your host, Jenaé, and I am so happy to be here. You could probably hear it in my voice if you're listening to this in an audio format, but we are finally here and it's going to be good. So let's get into our very first episode. Yes. So just some general announcements to just kind of kick us off. You got to subscribe. So wherever you listen to your podcast, please subscribe to the podcast so you'll be updated when new episodes drop. And then also you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and watch this in the video format. And I will leave links so that you can subscribe to both. And I really appreciate your support in advance. You know, when you subscribe, you comment, you like, you engage with the content, it pushes it up in the algorithm so other people can have contact or other people can see it or notice it. And that's what we want. So thank you in advance for your help. All right, let's get into the very first segment, which is called Beauty is Their Name. So this segment is really all about celebrating and acknowledging someone who is displaying beauty in their life. So it could be someone I know personally, maybe not, but either way, it's someone who is showing up beautifully in the world and deserve to be acknowledged. So the first person that we are acknowledging her name is Jean Fuller, and she just so happens to be my mommy. She is a phenomenal woman in every sense of the word. And there are so many beautiful things about her that I could talk about, but I'll just highlight one thing, and that being the amount of growth that I've seen her experience in her life. And of course, I'm her daughter, so I've had a front row seat to the growth that, you know, she's displayed in her life, but it really is phenomenal. She's one thing I will say is that she has taken accountability for her actions. She has pressed forward, you know, no matter what life has presented to her. And she's just continued to grow spiritually, emotionally. She just sets a really great example for me. She sets a great example for my daughter, and really anyone who knows her knows how much of a beautiful human being she is inside and out. So shout out to you, Mom. Hey, girl, you are celebrated. All right, so the second segment is called The Chair. So I named it The Chair because, you know, when you go to the salon or you go to a barbershop or you go get your nails done, you know, you wait a little bit before your appointment, and then you get excited when it's time for you to get in the chair. You may have a stylist that you are comfortable with. So, you know, you talk about life, you talk about things that are going on. And it really is the main event because you came to that location to get a service done. And once you leave, you feel good, you're refreshed, you look good. And so you're satisfied after leaving the chair. So welcome to the chair. So as you saw in the title, today we're going to talk about putting your life on Do Not Disturb and really emphasizing the beauty of intentional isolation. So this really is a play on Apple products. I'm sure Android probably has some similar feature, but if you have an iPad or iPhone or a MacBook, you know that you can use the Do Not Disturb feature. And essentially that this feature allows you to turn it on whenever you want. And for a certain period of time, you can just focus on what you're doing. You don't have any interruptions or distractions. And this is what I did with my life. And I'm going to talk about why and what happened and how I benefited from it. So, again, putting your life on do not disturb is very important. And we'll dive into why in this episode. So, what did it look like for me? So for me, putting my life on do not disturb, one of the things that I did was I limited my social media. Not only limited, I basically cut it out. Honestly, I limited my access to social media. So initially, I didn't post as much. So I was really interested in creating a personal brand. I'm also a photographer, so I literally like see life in pictures. So Instagram is perfect, So I wanted to post on a consistent basis and, gain a following and all of that stuff. But at this point, I really just stopped posting altogether, and I really was just, scrolling. And from just the scrolling and, looking at other people's content, I ended up not even opening the app to the point of where I am now. It's not even on my homepage on my phone. So it's not something that I even think about on a daily basis. So this was a huge shift because, I would mindlessly scroll or, I like to consume information. And social media was a way for me to get information. There's so much information online, so much knowledge, so many topics that people are covering, and these people are experts. They're researchers. They have reputable brands, and so they really are giving good information. But I had to separate myself from that. So no social media. The second way that I put my life on do not disturb was I limited the amount I cut off the amount of mainstream news that I accessed on a everyday basis. I've never really been like a CNN girl, I never really was a consumer of news too much, but I completely cut it off. And one of the reasons why was COVID was really eye-opening for me. And I think when, the world started to shut down, we were all glued to whatever news source that we use because, we needed to know what was happening in the world. And because of who I am, so I'm an empath. So basically what that means is I can easily put myself in someone else's shoes or I can take on other people's emotions. And in hindsight, I realized how terribly I was really impacted by COVID and the news that I was taking. On top of that, Black people were being killed. It felt like every single day. And there were uprisings happening. It was just a lot. And I was taking all of that stuff on. So that just demonstrated to me how much I'm impacted by what's happening in the world. And there's so much happening in the world. Like, it's too much. So I don't watch the news. And, I know that's hard for some people to do because I know you want to be aware of what's happening around you. But I just kind of got to the point where I'm just like, it doesn't matter. If it's something that I need to know that, is significant, then my parents or my friends, somebody will let me know what's happening. So no mainstream news. And then the third way that I put my life on do not disturb was social isolation. Now, this was probably the most difficult. It was very hard. I love connecting with people. So to really pull back and have very limited interactions with people was really challenging, and it was hard to get through, honestly. But, I had to do it, which I'll get to later in the episode. So really what this looked like was I wasn't going to events. I really stayed to myself. I won't say that I wasn't connected to anyone, because I still did go places. I still did do things, especially, if it was celebrating someone in some way. I wouldn't want to miss out on that. But I just wasn't like hanging out like I would have done in the past. And so I missed people. I still miss people. I think I know a lot of my relationships have shifted, not necessarily in a negative way. They just are very different than they were before. So, social isolation had to be, it was necessary, but it was definitely hard. All right. So why was this important for me at the particular time that I decided to go into social isolation? So the first reason was I was really, really sad. And I didn't understand why I was at the time. Now I realized that I was having challenges with, I was experiencing functional depression, honestly. And not only was I sad, but it was it was it didn't make any sense to me why I was sad, because there were so many great things happening in my life. So it was even scarier to me, because it's like, you should be happy, but you're not. And the reason why I was so sad was, well, let me explain. So in 2021, if you were someone on the outside looking on the inside, as far as my life, so you're an external person and you're like, wow, 2021 was a really good year for you. And it was. It really was a great year. However, I was still sad. So May 2021, I earned a doctorate in education, which is a huge accomplishment. Statistics related to doctoral degrees and individuals who earn them, it's like less than 2% in the world or something. And then if you take into account my identities and how they intersect, I'm even less likely to obtain a doctoral degree, but I was able to accomplish that. I was so proud of myself. My family was so proud of me. I felt celebrated in the moment. It was a time. Let me just say. But it was very short-lived. And not to say that I'm not proud. I'm still very proud of myself, but the happiness wore off a little sooner than I expected. Especially during the time that it was a lot going on emotionally. Then in June, I purchased my first home. And again, this is a huge deal for me specifically, because I'm someone who, all my life, coming from a lower middle class family, emphasis on lower, I took on a mindset of lack. And what that looked like for me is, I never felt like I had enough. I never felt like I had enough money. There was never enough opportunities. I never had enough stuff. And when you look at life that way, you make bad decisions. And so, especially financially. So, of course, I pay my bills and all of that, but I never felt like I had enough to save or put aside. I was spending more than I should, because the money that I was spending on things that I didn't need, I could have been saving that money. And when I would save, it would be, situational. So like if I wanted to go on a trip, or, I wanted to make a big purchase, then, I would put the money aside for that. But I really saving wasn't a part of my life. And also, if you're living through a place of lack, that's how a lot of people accumulate debt. It's because, you never have enough. So you're always spending. So you're getting credit cards, you're doing things, you're living beyond your means, essentially. And one day I had a wake up call, and I was just like, girl, this ain't it. And I really just changed the way that I looked at money. I changed the way that I looked at my life, and I shifted to an abundance mindset, and it completely changed my life. Although I wasn't making a lot of money at the time, I always said that I didn't have enough to save. But when I shifted to an abundance mindset, I found the opportunities to save. And I was able to save enough money for a down payment for a house. And then, thinking about debt, cleaning up my credit and all of those things so that I could qualify for a mortgage. So that was a huge accomplishment, not just because, I have the physical house, but what it took for me to get there was very significant. And so that was a huge deal. Closing day, I will never forget it. My mom was there with me. My daughter was there with me. My realtor, her name is Salitra Sutherland. Shout out to her. She made it like, she's a Black woman, and she just made it feel so special. And I know, she's a professional and she has a business to run, and it was a sale for her, but I genuinely felt like she was excited for me, and she was proud of me, and she really helped me throughout the process. So closing was beautiful. And then when I got to move into my house, it was a beautiful moment, and I was happy in the moment until I wasn't. I also want to highlight, because I have a photography business, it was the most money I had ever made at, having a side hustle. I always had clients. People were always hitting me up, needing pictures. People shared my information with their families. And so I really was booked and busy. And, that was a great accomplishment. It was a business that I started, on my own. I had some friends that really inspired me. Shout out to y'all. That really, it inspired me to start the business, but I was able to create a business from scratch. And then, so again, these are great things that are happening. And then the last thing was, I got a new job. So before getting into the management consulting world, I worked in higher education, and I worked at the same institution for over 10 years. Throughout this time, it wasn't all bad in terms of the experience, but I had a lot of bad experiences in terms of being mistreated. And it's a system that's supported by policies that didn't align with, my future, didn't align with, it just wasn't a good fit. And it was time for me to go. And especially towards the end, I was over it, y'all. Like it was bad. And so I was able to get a new job. And one of the things that I was really adamant about, or one of the things that I was looking for, was I wanted to work from home. I have a daughter who has some health challenges, and so I just really wanted to be home and accessible to her. So if she needed to be picked up, or I can put her on the bus and be home when she gets off the bus, things like that. So that was really important for me. And so I was able to get that. And then in terms of the salary, here working in higher ed, if you know, but I never got a substantial raise. And I'm thankful for the small raises I did get. So I'm not being ungrateful, but it really, the raises weren't substantial enough to make a difference in my paycheck, make a difference in my life in terms of like what I had access to. And so this was a huge opportunity and something to really be celebrated. And now in hindsight, I realized that because I work from home and I'm working, but I'm also at home. And so I really could, focus on this isolation and focus on me. So even though all of those great things happened, I was still sad, which is scary. And now I know that I place my worth, I place my happiness in external things. And the world tells you you're supposed to do X, Y, Z. And once you get those things, you'll be good. You're supposed to check these 5 boxes. And once you do, you'll be good. You'll be happy. You've arrived. And I wasn't there at all. And I realized that I would literally just be trying to hit a moving target because, yeah, I have a doctorate, but there are other degrees or certifications that I could get. Yes, I have a house, but I could get a bigger house. Yes, I have a job, but I can get a job that, pays twice as much of what I got paid, but I still would have been sad. And so that's what really helped me see that you need to take a step back. Another reason why it was important for me is because I was exhausted. So I just named all of those things that happened to me in 2021. But there were so many other things that I had my hands in. I had other side hustles or working on other projects. I was a part of groups and nonprofits and, going here and going there and connected to this person and that person. And it really was because I lacked boundaries. And when I really needed to say no, I didn't. And so I was completely worn out. I'm an introvert, and while I love connecting with people, I really do think that it's a gift from God. Like, people feel safe with me. So, and I'm also a good listener. And so people, not only talk to me about their problems, but they talk to me about their hopes and their dreams and their goals. And that's a connection point for me and a lot of people. But I was exhausted. I was so exhausted. And so I really needed to take a break because of that lack of boundaries, because I didn't give myself enough time to recharge. I would recharge here and there, but compared to the amount that I was extending, I wasn't taking the time for myself. So I was exhausted. And so the third reason why was it was time to prune. So just to use a gardening reference, if you know about plants or whatever, plants or anything that grows leaves and flowers, you have to prune them. And you have to prune them because all of the extra leaves or whatever is there may be keeping the plant from growing to its full potential. And that's what happened to me. There were things that I had moved away from, but they slowly crept back into my life in terms of habits. There were people that had left my life, but then they slowly made their way back into my life. there were just things that I really needed to be, that I need, things that I needed to be stripped away from me. And I needed time by myself to really process that. And the reason why is because why are you going through the same cycles? Why are they repeating themselves? Why does the same type of person keep finding their way back to you? Why do the same habits keep finding their way back to you? Like, it's you, girl. You are the problem. And there's something that you need to work through. And in order to do that, you cannot have distractions. You really have to focus on yourself. So that is why, those are the three reasons why it was important for me to have this period of intentional isolation. So how did I benefit from social well, not just social isolation, but from putting my life on do not disturb? I feel like I benefited in a lot of ways. I kind of alluded to some of them already, but I'll just talk about three of them. The ones that I feel like are most important. So number one was I got closer to God. My mom took me to church at a very young age. And so I've always known God. But the way that I've known God has always been through someone else telling me about God. So going to church, listening to sermons, and don't get me wrong, we need pastors, we need apostles, we need teachers, we need all of those people because they have the ability to break down the word of God in a way that we may not be able to. But I also think that we have to get to know God for ourselves. And that's what I did. I read my Bible, I journaled, I prayed. If I did listen to a sermon, I went back and studied what they shared with me because, their message may have been completely different from what I got from God or what I received from God. So I got closer to God, and it's just like any other relationship. You have to spend time with someone to really get to know their character, to get to know what they like and what they don't like, and really get to really nurture the relationship that you have with them. So I was able to get closer to God, which is an obvious benefit. And I also got to rest. So I mentioned that I was exhausted and I was worn out, simply put, but I was able to rest in every way. And I think emotional rest is something that something that I didn't really consider before. But a part of that for me was going to therapy. I know therapy, there's not as much stigma attached to therapy as it has been in the past, but I still think we have a ways to go in terms of understanding the importance and the power of allowing yourself to just open up to someone who is trained to help you sift through your emotions. So I went to therapy every other week for 2 years. And from that, I was able to clean out my heart. Things came up that I didn't know were there. And it was really clogging my heart. It was keeping me from loving. It was keeping me from trusting. And when you have all of that stuff just all in there with nowhere to go, you can't rest well. You're stressed. You may have you may see physical manifestations of all of those things. So I was able to rest emotionally because I was able to talk through a lot of what I was going through with a professional. Shout out to Neva. And also in terms of rest, it was just physical rest. Like I wasn't everywhere on the weekends or in the evenings. I could just sleep or take a nap when I felt like it, or just lay around the house because I can. And, prioritize rest, which was something that we all need to do. We are busy. We have so many obligations, but our bodies, our minds, our hearts are tired. And so I really prioritized rest. And in terms of spiritual rest, because I was able to get closer to God, I experienced spiritual rest because a lot of what I was experiencing, I gave it to God. And I wasn't trying to be the captain of the ship. Didn't I didn't want to worry. I didn't want to, always be stressed out about the same thing over and over again. And I just was like, God, you take care of it. Let your will be done. And it was the best rest that I've ever gotten. I feel so much better. I feel so refreshed. And it was gradual. It really did take time. And me being the impatient girl that I can be sometimes, I was just ready to be free. I was ready to feel better. But when you're going through this type of process and pruning, it's literally like peeling back the layers of an onion. Like you have to go through one layer of healing to get to what's underneath that, and then go through that level of healing and get to what's under that layer. So it definitely is a process, and you definitely have to be patient, because you can quickly revert back to where you were because it's not going as fast as you would like it to. So definitely have to be patient. And then the third benefit of putting my life on Do Not Disturb was I got to spend time with myself, and I got to know myself. So because of distractions, and I don't care how self-aware or how strong of an individual you are, there are just too many ideas, too many opinions, too many thoughts circling around the way, just in general. So you have people in your family, you have people at work, you have people on social media. There are just so many ideas, and we are bombarded with this information. So how do you know the way that you truly feel about something is not like a conglomeration of all of the things that you've heard and experienced? How do you know that if you don't take time to yourself? So that was really important for me. Like, what do I believe about specific topics? How do I feel? What do I think without any disruption or any opinion of any other person? And that was significant for me because I have always I listen. That's what I do. And so I really do hear what people are saying and how they feel and all of that. But I really needed to focus on me and what I believe and what I feel and what I hear. So I was able to get to know myself better. I also, did activities that I wouldn't normally do. I took a contemporary dance class at a local dance studio. Had the time of my life. I felt like a fish out of water because I don't do contemporary dance, but I like to dance. And so I took this class by myself. I met some people in the class. I got to move my body on a regular basis. I got to do something that I wouldn't normally do. And because of that, I'm going to take another class because I loved it so much. I took a bar class at the gym. I would have never done that before. It's a class called Body Combat. Absolutely love it. But these are things that I normally wouldn't do. Also, I am a nature girl for sure. My cousin Keisha calls me a flower child, and that is me. I love sitting by the water, going to the beach, just looking at grass and trees and flowers and birds and bugs. That is joy to me. And I did that a lot, and I did it by myself. And I know that that's something that I really enjoy doing. So now I need to connect with people who have the same interests. So, for example, me and my dad went on a hike for Father's Day. He is also an outdoors type of person. And it was so fun. Like 2 minutes in, I had to question my sanity. Like, why would you ever voluntarily do this to yourself? Because it literally was almost like a uphill climb. But when we got to the top, it was probably one of the most incredible views that I've ever seen. And I got to do it with my dad. Like, that's my boy. So I really got to know Jenaé for who Jenaé is. And I'm so glad that I did. So that kind of explains why I put my life on Do Not Disturb and how I benefited. And so now I just want to charge you. Okay. Now I know that the way that I do things sometimes is very extreme. And I think that is because the old me, because we're not doing that anymore. But I get in these routines and I do things until I can't take it anymore. And so my only choice is to be rigid and over the top. But I really think that we need to practice, and this is the charge, to find a way to put your life on this and put your life on Do Not Disturb based on your life, your obligations, and what you need. You can do something to pull back and to give yourself time for you. And I get it. You know, some people, it's hard to be by yourself because you don't have any distractions. And so things will come up. Things may come up that might hurt you or bother you or you don't understand. But that's where the therapy comes in. That's where the prayer can come in. That's where the journaling can come in. But I guarantee you that when you sift through and clean that stuff out of your heart, you will feel better than you have ever felt before. I am a living witness. Like, I don't know if you can tell, like, people who are watching this or listening to this who may know me personally, there's a difference, girl. Like, sometimes I'm like, who are you? Like, where did you come from? But I love it here. I absolutely love it here. And I want the same for you. So try to put your life on Do Not Disturb in some way and take time for yourself. That's all for that topic or segment. And the third segment, we're almost done. So this segment is called The Beauty Secret. Now, this could be a secret that focuses on external beauty because we love that. We can't deny that external beauty is important. It's cool. Or it can be a secret that focuses on internal beauty. So today we're going to do both. It may not always be this way, but for today, we're going to focus on two beauty secrets. And the first, the external beauty secret is actually products. Now, I'm not going to always, I don't want to promote consumerism and buying things that we don't need, but I want to highlight some products or some things that I do that benefit my life. So these two products are from Good Molecules. And these are staples in my skincare regimen. If you don't have a skincare regimen, you should get one, even if it's just cleansing your skin, moisturizing your skin, and wearing sunscreen. That is the basics, and that's something that anybody can do. But for the girlies or the guys who want to take it a step further, this is the Good Molecules Discoloration Correcting Serum. Now, because of all of this melanin that I have going on here, um, when I have a blemish or pimple, 9 times out of 10, it's gonna leave a scar, even if I don't bother it. That's just what it is. And so this um, serum has really helped with fading fading dark marks and things like that. It says improves the appearance of hyperpigmentation and dark spots. I also like this because this is very reasonably priced. This is a 1 fluid ounce bottle. I've been using this same bottle, excuse me, for a while. A little goes a long way. You don't need a lot. And I think it's like $12 for this bottle. And then the other one is the Good Molecules Bakuchiol Oil Blend for oily skin. I am an oily girl. But essentially, this is a retinol. Bakuchiol is a retinol, which, if you know anything about retinols, they definitely help to prevent signs of aging, and in some cases they can help to reverse signs of aging. So fine lines, wrinkles, if your skin starts to sag, whatever, retinols can help with that. But bakuchiol is actually derived from a plant, which of course we love that. It's not as harsh as other retinols. I have never used a retinol, but videos that I've watched, it can cause your skin to be dry and flaky, and we don't want those type of games. So this is an oil blend, and you just use a couple drops and you massage it into your face and your neck, and it can help prevent signs of aging. This little bottle also I've been using this for a while. Again, a little goes a long way. You don't need a lot. And this is also very reasonably priced. So I will link these in case anyone is interested in trying them out. But I do recommend using them if you are in search of products that do the things that I mentioned. So in terms of the internal beauty secret, excuse me, I want to talk about fasting really quickly. So I have fasted for years, and there are so many benefits to fasting. I do intermittent fasting now. Recently, I started, for maybe the past couple weeks, I started intermittent fasting. So basically, I eat between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. And after 6 p.m., I just drink water. And if you do a little bit of research, there are so many health benefits to fasting, physical health benefits to fasting, but there's also a spiritual benefit to fasting. And so I try to combine them both. And essentially, it's a way to limit distractions. Food can be distractions. Well, food can be a distraction. It is definitely a distraction for me, especially sweet food like cookies and cake and stuff like that. And so when you're pulling those things away from your daily diet for a specific amount of time, you have time to focus on other things. So I might pray, I might journal, I might read my Bible, but it has definitely helped me in a lot of ways. I will say specifically, so I'll give you an example. I fasted, and all of a sudden I'll think of a situation that I had completely forgotten about, and the situation caused me to feel hurt in some type of way. And so the person that hurt me, I needed to forgive them. And so I don't know if I wasn't fasting in that moment, if that random occurrence would have just popped up in my mind. So those are the types of benefits. And there are so many other things that can happen as a result of fasting, but you can start small. I will say, I think a true fast is eliminating food altogether and just drinking water. And not just, fasting social media, although you can, but I mean, like, a true fast is turning away your plate. So, if you haven't had an experience with fasting, I suggest you try. You can start small, but there are definitely great benefits to it. All right, y'all. So we have made it to the end, the very end of the first episode of Favor and Beauty, the podcast. I'm so happy. And if you made it this far, thank you. Like, I really appreciate it. So I have some episodes on deck, so they will be dropping consistently. Excited to share this information and parts of my personal testimony with you all. I will say that the first episodes will be with just me, but the vision for this platform is to be an interview based platform. So I am excited to invite guests later on. So if you are interested in being a guest, if you have any thoughts, or you have a question, or if you just want to say, hey girl, you can send me an email at favorandbeautypod@gmail.com. And I would love to connect with you. If I can be a resource, any of those things, hit me up. Just as a reminder, subscribe to the podcast wherever you may be consuming the content. So Spotify, Apple, wherever, and then also YouTube. You know how YouTube is. So I will make sure you can find the channel because it is new, but leave a comment, you got to engage. You got to engage with the content so that other people can see it. But thank you again for listening. And if you haven't heard it today, I love you. Take care and stay beautiful. Bye.